G'day Spuddies. So there's been a lot of attention on the Australian Heart Foundation released new dietary guidelines yesterday, and there's some good things and there's some bad things, but the big headlines have been now you can eat unlimited cheese and unlimited butter and unlimited eggs and things like that. They did say that they're encouraging a plant-based diet and people to move towards more plants, but that sort of contradicts this idea that you can eat as many eggs as you want. Anyway, first of all, before we get into it, let's try to understand the kind of organisation we're talking about. They have a long documented history of being in bed with the food industry. For a long time they've had a heart healthy tick program, which they've now scrapped because they got pressured for so long, where they were selling this endorsement. Companies could pay them in order to get a tick label, heart healthy tick label, to put on their food, and yeah, that was a really dodgy thing to do. They've long and documented partnerships with companies like McDonald's, KFC, fast food places, pizza places. Nestle is a big, long documented corporate partner. They would say it's not a sponsorship, but if it looks like a duck, walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's a duck. These are corporate sponsorships that we're talking about. What do they say actually? They say I can't find it now, but it's a partnership, not a sponsorship. So what? You're giving them money and they're giving you favours. That's what we're talking about. So I'm just going to read you this bit from this article. It's an article about heart health, the Heart Foundation. Sorry, this is the paragraph I'm reading again. Oh, there it is. So, the New South Wales Heart Foundation CEO since 2003, Tony Thirlwell. Mr. Thirlwell was in charge of a massive campaign on behalf of the sugar industry while working for sugar giant CSR in the 1980s. It aimed to convince Australians that sugar was a natural part of life and was not bad for people's health at a time when cane sugar consumption was declining. It goes on to list a number of other people, but the point of reading this out is to show you and help you understand that not only does the Heart Foundation of Australia have corporate partnerships, sponsorships, they're funded by food industry such as Nestle, McDonald's, etc. That's where they get their funding from. Not only do they have that, but they also have employees who are running the Heart Foundation who are moving between these different food-related organisations. So the guy that's in charge of the New South Wales branch of the Heart Foundation used to be in charge of Australia's biggest sugar producer. And there are many examples of that. Employees move between the two. So of course, when you come from that environment into this new environment, you're going to bring with you a bias towards your old business that you used to run. So that's a given. So now that we understand that we're looking at an organisation here who has clear, deep and obvious biases towards the food industries that sponsor them, let's move on to the actual advice. So I just got this, it's printed from their website. You can find it if you go to the Heart Foundation website. So I'm just going to go through these highlighted sections here. So the first one, we have removed our restrictions for healthy Australians on eating full-fat milk, cheese and yogurt. While the evidence was mixed, this type of dairy was found to have a neutral effect in that it doesn't increase or decrease your risks for heart disease or stroke. So, what does that mean? Well, what it means to me is that we're not really sure what we should do here, so let's just do something anyway without evidence. So they said the evidence is neutral and it's mixed. We're not sure whether this is bad or whether it's good. I'm telling you it's not neutral and it's not mixed. These foods are bad, but they're saying they're not sure. And what's their response to being not sure and having neutral evidence? Well, we should lift the restriction. We should say you can have as much of it as you want. Okay, if we're not sure that we should change it, maybe we should not change it? What? You're not making any sense. Come on, people. We're not sure if we should do anything with this recommendation, so let's do a major thing with it. All right, there is plenty of evidence, by the way, that full fat cheese and yogurt and dairy products are very bad. And in fact, the only diet that has ever been documented with published peer-reviewed scientific literature to actually reverse heart disease is a fully whole food plant-based diet. That's just the way it is. There's no other diet, no diet that has included dairy of any kind has ever been documented in published peer-reviewed scientific literature to reverse heart disease. It's been done multiple times with a plant-based diet. So, yeah, there you go. I would say that's not neutral evidence. But even if you did have neutral evidence, why are you changing recommendations based on being not sure? That doesn't make sense. All right, moving on. We now advise people with type 2 diabetes to eat fewer than 7 eggs per week, as growing evidence suggests an increased risk with eating more eggs. So that comes on the after another bit where they've said that we're going to allow people to eat more eggs, unlimited eggs. Healthy people can eat unlimited eggs. That's basically the way their recommendations go. You can eat as many eggs as you want now, unless you've already got heart disease, all right, or you've got type 2 diabetes, or something like that. So in other words, what they're saying is eggs are not great. Eat as many as you want until you get sick. And then when you get sick, then stop or eat fewer. They don't say, they say fewer eggs is better. Surely so eat fewer than 7 eggs per week. What's the fewest you can eat? It's 0. It's 0. If you want to have a really good time with diabetes and heart disease and you've already got progressed heart disease, what's the best thing you do? You could eat 0. That is fewer than 7. Go for 0. But they don't say that. They want you to eat as many as you want, so that you can get heart disease and diabetes as quick as possible. And then once you get there, then go and see your doctor, get prescribed to all these different drugs that we can prescribe to you, and our corporate pharmacist partners can then charge you for their drugs, and then you can eat a little bit less of the food that caused the problem, and everyone's happy. Us and all our corporate partners are winners. Yeah, that's basically my interpretation of the new guidelines. One positive, they do have this highlighted point here. I don't want to say they're all bad, because they're not all bad. They say eating more plant-based foods like vegetables, fruits and whole grains, and healthy proteins like fish. Well, why are we even talking about proteins? All of those things you've just listed have healthy protein in them. But anyway, let's forget about that. Eating more plant-based foods like vegetables, fruits and whole grains, and eating healthy proteins like fish and seafood, with smaller amounts of animal-based foods, while cutting down on highly processed junk foods, is key to good heart health. So at least they've got that line in there about recommending more plant-based foods, and they do mention multiple times through the article that they encourage people to move towards a more plant-based diet. So there are positives coming out of this. They do recommend a big decrease in meat consumption, so that's really good. Drop your meat consumption. They say unlimited other stuff now, but we've seen that that's bad. They talk about eggs actually while we're on it. They talk about eating as many eggs as you want, and I guess part of what makes that neutral evidence that they talk about is the various egg studies that have come out recently showing supposedly that eggs are healthy. Now, I did a video a while back on how the CSIRO came up with bogus studies for eggs, so I'll put a link in the description below, and you can go and see my video on why and how they made these dodgy egg studies. But yeah, basically, I think just don't pay any attention to the Heart Foundation ever. And don't pay any attention to any of these articles that you're seeing in the news in the last couple of days. Obviously, the various industries, dairy and egg industries, are now paying their media partners to write articles saying you can eat as much of their products as you want. And that's the way this works. We have, as Dr. McDougall says, we have the truth, they have the money. And the money is what gets this sort of stuff done. So don't be fooled by what these huge, enormous corporations want you to do. Don't be fooled by their spin and their marketing message. We know, because it's been proven time and time again through published peer-reviewed scientific literature, that a whole food plant-based diet, low in fat, 0 animal products, 0 processed foods, that is what's going to prevent and reverse heart disease. Anyone that tells you anything else, you better look deeply into what they're saying. I'm not going to say they're wrong, because maybe some evidence will come out that they're right, but let's look deeply into that evidence and don't just believe the headlines. All right, I've talked enough now. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you want to come to a seminar that I'm doing with High Carb Health, Shakul Kashwala from High Carb Health, I'll put a link below. It's a live seminar. You can come in person or you can watch it online. Links below. And also Spud Timber's coming up. So get involved in Spud Timber. More links below. Thanks for watching, everyone. Like, subscribe, share, all that sort of stuff. Spud up. Don't believe the hype.